You're listening to the weekly Parsha podcast with Ari Goldwag, recorded with Hashem's never-ending assistance in Ramat Beit Shemesh, Israel, 5777, 2017. This week's Parsha is Parsha's Ekev, and I'd like to share with you a theme which we find in the middle of the Parsha, in chapter 11, Parak Yud Aleph, Psukim Tes, Yud Aleph, Yud Beis, verses 9, 10, 11, and 12. And it has to do with the specialness, the uniqueness of Eretz Yisrael, of the land of Israel. And before I begin actually reading from our Parsha, I just want to share with you the idea which Rabbi Nachman speaks about. But if you look at the Torah as a whole, you really see that the foundation of the Torah, the essence of what the Torah is speaking about, the whole book of the Torah, is getting to the land of Israel. We're coming closer, where our whole she'ifa, our whole desire, our whole wish, all that we hope for is to get to the land of Israel. You see from the very beginning of the Torah in Breshis Barlakim, Rashi tells us, why does the Torah start with Breshis? Why does the Torah not start with HaChodesh HaZelachem? Why does it start with the creation of the world? The Torah is not just a storybook, or it's not a storybook at all. It's a law book. The Torah means the law. So it should start with HaChodesh HaZelachem, the first commandment, the first mitzvah which is given to the entire Jewish people, which is an obligation to count to have a lunar calendar, to count the Jewish year, the Jewish calendar based on the moon. So why does the Torah not start with that? So Rashi tells us at the very beginning of Breshis that Hashem wanted to show that He created the world, and that no nation should say, Listim atem, that you are robbers, you're coming in to try to steal the land of Israel from whoever it is that was there before you. Rather, Hashem created the entire world, and Hashem gives each place to whom He wishes. And Hashem wishes to give the land of Israel to the Jewish people. So from the very beginning of the Torah you see that. And Avraham Avinu, who's the progenitor of the Jewish people, the first of the Jewish people, God says to him, Lech lecha me'artzecha, go to the land that I'm going to show you. Go to Eretz Yisrael, to the land of Israel. The Iker, the main purpose of Abraham was fulfilled in Israel. The Jewish people's main purpose is fulfilled in Israel. The entire Torah, the Jewish people are trying to get to the land of Israel. They're walking through the wilderness. Moshe Rabbeinu wishes with all of his heart that he could enter the land of Israel. And the Jewish people do finally get to the land of Israel. In the culmination of the Torah, the beginning of Sefer Yehoshua. So the Torah is all about getting to Israel. It's our she'ifa, it's our wish, it's our hope, it's our love. The Jewish people always have been waiting for that moment when we could re-enter the land, when we could come out of the exile, return to the land of Israel. To the point where Chazal tell us, the sages tell us, that the significance of the land of Israel, the commandments that are fulfilled in the land of Israel, when we do a mitzvah in Eretz Yisrael, it's different than when we do a mitzvah in Chutz La'aretz, outside of Israel. Chazal say, Kol mi shedar b'chutz la'aretz damit l'mi she'ein lo elokah. Whoever lives outside of Israel, it's as if they don't have a God. And that means that the service of Hashem that we do in Eretz Yisrael is different. What is special about Eretz Yisrael? What is unique about the land of Israel? So I'd like to read to you from some psukim, actually starting with verse 8. This is in chapter 11 in our Parsha. Ushmartem es kol mitzvah asher anochi mitzavcha hayom. You shall keep the commandment which I'm commanding you today, leman techzu uvasam v'yishtam es haaretz, in order that you become strong and you come and you inherit the land. Right? The reason that the Canaanites were thrown out of the land of Israel is because of their many sins. The schus, the merit that the Jewish people have to be able to live in Eretz Yisrael, is in the merit of the commandments, fulfilling the mitzvahs of Hashem. And you will inherit the land that you're going over there to inherit. Verse 9, and in order that you have long days on the land, that God promised to your forefathers, to the patriarchs, to give to them and to their seed. Eretz zavas chalav udvash. The Torah refers to the beauty of the land of Israel as a land flowing with milk and honey. Verse 10, it's the beginning of Shishi. Ki aretz asher ata vasham l'rishta. There's a difference between the land of Israel and the land of Egypt. The land of Israel is different. What's special about Eretz Yisrael? What is the maila of Eretz Yisrael? What is the advantage over the land of Egypt? The land to which you are coming to inherit there, Like Eretz Mitzrayim, it's not like Egypt. Asher Yitzasam Yishon, that you left from there. Asher Tizra Zaracho, that in the land of Egypt, what happens? You plant the seeds. Asher Tizra Zaracho Vishkisa V'Ragacha Kigan Yorik. And how do the seeds grow? How does the water come? It comes because the Nile River overflows. There's irrigation ditches, but it comes through the efforts of a human being, and it comes not because of rainwaters. Verse 11, and this is what's special about Eretz Yisrael. Amazing thing. We need to understand what is the depth of this idea. What is the Torah coming to teach us with this? The land to which you are going to inherit, Eretz Harim Uvakois. It's a land that has many mountains and many valleys. Where does it get its water from? It's not from a Nile River. It's not from some irrigation dishes, but rather it comes from the heavens. The water comes from the heavens. It comes from rain. Verse 12. Eretz asher Hashem Elokecha deiresh oisa. Amazing thing. Hashem is constantly searching in the land. He's deiresh. He's looking there for something. We're going to see what that means. Amazing thing. Hashem's eyes are always looking at the land of Israel. From the beginning of the year until the end of the year. Throughout the year, throughout all of time, Hashem is always looking closely at Eretz Yisrael. And what does this mean? What is the idea here? So I'd like to read to you Rashi, and soon we'll see the Midrashim. So the verse said that it's a land that Hashem is searching out. The verse tells us, behold, all of the lands Hashem looks at, Hashem is searching. In some way, we need to understand what the idea is, but in some way, it's as if Hashem is only looking at Eretz Yisrael. Amazing thing, and we'll see the lesson of the Medrash. It's just beautiful that when Hashem looks at and searches the land of Israel, so there's also a searching that occurs as a result, or perhaps via the land of Israel, for all of the lands. We'll see what this means. Hashem's eyes are constantly on the land of Israel, to see what does the land of Israel need, and to renew the decrees. Sometimes there are good decrees, and sometimes, heaven forbid, there are decrees that aren't as good. And the verse finishes off with Mireshis Hashana, from the beginning of the year until the end of the year. And Rashi tells us that the judgment, Hashem, when is Hashem doing this drisha? When is Hashem involved in this searching and trying to understand and looking at Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel? Happens on Rosh Hashanah. Now, what is the idea? What is the specialness of Eretz Yisrael? What does it mean that Hashem is looking at this place in a unique way, in an unusual way? I'd like to read with you two Midrashim and share with you a thought about the depth of what the Midrash is saying. Both of these Midrashim are just really an expansion of what Rashi said. Rashi was quoting from these Midrashim. Is it true that Hashem only looks at the land of Israel? Hashem doesn't look at any other lands? God looks at every land. God is constantly seeking, searching, judging, trying to see what's going on there. Quotes the same verses as Rashi. Rashi brought this medrash. So what does the verse mean? If other verses indicate that Hashem is looking at all of the lands, that Hashem is bringing rain upon all of the lands, so what does it mean that Hashem is looking specifically at the land of Israel? In a certain sense, Hashem is only looking at the land of Israel. But agav, by the way, when Hashem looks at Eretz Yisrael, the effect is that Hashem looks at all of the lands. What does that mean? Let's see. In a similar way, we find the verse says, God does not slumber, God does not sleep. He is the keeper. He's the protector of Israel. When Hashem only takes care of the Jewish people, only takes care of the people of Israel. We find that God takes care of everyone, of everything. The verse in Job says, chapter 12, verse 10, that God, within His hands, God's got the whole world in His hands, right? He has the souls of every living creature, the spirit of all people. Hashem is protecting them. Hashem takes care of everyone. So what does it mean that Hashem is called the Shomer Yisrael, the keeper of Israel, the protector of the people of Israel? Is it exclusive? Is it not exclusive? As it were, Hashem only protects the people of Israel. Amazing thing. We need to understand what this means. That as a result of the fact that Hashem is protecting the Jewish people, by the way, He also protects all of the people in the world. What is the concept here? What is the idea here? And why is this idea being taught in the context of Eretz Yisrael, of the land of Israel? Okay. One more piece in the Medrash. Davar acher. Ratzisa Hashem artzecha, shavta shvis Yaakov. The verse tells us that Hashem desires His land. God desires the land of Israel. You need to understand the concept of desire. So let the cog start turning. What is the idea that Hashem desires His land, and He returns those who are captives among the people of Jacob? Zeu hakasuf. This is what the verse means when it says, This is a land that Hashem is searching through. The eyes of God are constantly upon it, constantly upon the land of Israel. God is constantly turning things around, looking carefully. Hashem is looking at it, waiting for the time when He will be appeased. Teratza, Ratzon. It's a language of desire. Hashem wants it. Hashem wants the land of Israel. Hashem wants things to be correct and proper in the land of Israel. Right? The Torah tells us we need to do the mitzvahs. If we don't perform the commandments properly, heaven forbid, the Jewish people could be thrown out of the land of Israel. That's what happened in the past. So, Maseh HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Hashem is waiting for the works, the actions of the people of Israel within the land of Israel to be done l'shem shamayim, for God's sake. Mitzvahs sh'nestav Yisrael, God is looking for, waiting for the Jewish people to fulfill the commandments. If they're properly taking off the tithes, which is a mitzvah t'liyah ba'aretz, which is a commandment which is dependent upon the land of Israel, and they're keeping Shemitah and Yovel, the Jubilee year, the year where the land is supposed to lie fallow every 7 years, and all of the commandments that the Jewish people were commanded at that time. So then the result is that the actions of the Jewish people are desired. We find this same language of desire, that when the Jewish people did not fulfill the mitzvahs, did not fulfill Shemitah, so then when they're not there, so then the land will have what it needs. It will receive the Ratzon, the desire. As the verse tells us that Hashem desired your land. So we read this and we say, what's the idea here? What is the concept of desire, of Ratzon? What is that? How is that connected to the land of Israel? How is that connected to the Jewish people doing the commandments, being able to stay in Israel, not being thrown out of Israel? What is this idea of Ratzon? What is the idea of desire? Hashem is desiring. The land is desiring. What is this concept? One last little piece here in the Medrash. By the way, all of these concepts, these Midrashim that I have the reading from this week is Eitzar Midrashim. Beautiful collection of different Midrashim. Last little piece. Constantly, the eyes of God are upon the land of Israel. One verse says, that God's eyes are constantly on the land of Israel. God looks at the entire land. So how will these two verses be fulfilled? I'm sorry. The steer here is, the contradiction here is, that God looks at it which implies the fact that Hashem is happy about the land, and that God brings blessings upon the land. But the second verse says he looks at the land and it shakes. It shakes. It sounds like there's judgment. It sounds like there's din. It sounds like there's destruction, difficulties. So when the Jewish people do the will of Hashem, God's eyes are looking at it in a positive way, in a good way. They don't become damaged. There's no destruction. When the Jewish people are not fulfilling Hashem's will, so Hashem looks at the land, heaven forbid, and there's a trembling, there's a fear, there's danger, there's judgment. Okay, so let's try to understand what's going on here. What is this special judgment about Eretz Yisrael? What is this special looking that's going on here? How does it affect all the other places? So to understand what's going on here, the foundation here is the concept of Ratzon. It's the concept of desire. What is Ratzon? What is desire? If we think about it, the Ratzon, the desire that a person has a true desire, a real wish, a real aspiration, a real Ratzon. So the Ratzon, a beautiful, interesting word. The word Ratzon is Ratz. The word Ratz means to run. There's a running. Ratzon is something that catapults. The desire is that which catapults a person to do a certain action. If a person has a Ratzon, has a desire to put out Parsha podcasts, put out shiurim every single week, so that desire will catapult that person to have to find a Dvar Torah, find a concept to speak about, and the result will be there will be a Parsha podcast every week. And that Ratzon is constantly causing him to run. It's moving him. It's an engine. A person has a Ratzon v'kirvas elikim. A person has a desire to come close to God. That's going to push him. It's going to be seen in all of his actions. A person has a desire to make a lot of money. That's going to be seen in his actions. Ratzon is the motor. It's the mania. It's that which causes all of the results. All of that which it's like we picture and they speak about in the Sfarim HaKadoshim. They speak about Ratzon as being over here in the place of the tefillin. The Ratzon is the source. It's beyond even the mind. The mind is just the thoughts of a person. But what's even before the thoughts? What motivates the thoughts? What moves the thoughts? What moves the heart? What moves the body? Is Ratzon. It's desire. That's the foundation here. That's the foundation of the concept of Ratzon. And now, in a similar way, we've spoken about in the past the concept of the koilel. The koilel is the all-inclusive aspect, and it's intimately connected to the idea of Ratzon. Ratzon is the point which is above, which includes all of the entire physical body, all of the thoughts of a person, all of the actions of the limbs of a person, like we said. There's a concept of the koilel, which is the Jewish people is called the koilel. Yisrael, the Jewish people, is the nation that includes all of the other nations within it, just like Yaakov Avinu is the one, which includes all of his 70 offspring. The Jewish people is the one nation, which includes all of the 70 nations. When the Jewish people are doing the Ratzon of Hashem, when Klal Yisrael is focused, and their Ratzon, their will is Hashem's will, so then the result is that they act. They move forward. Their actions have to do with Hashem, bringing Hashem into the world. And the result of that is all-inclusive. It affects all of the nations of the world. And it manifests itself, it expresses itself in the actions of the nations. And this is on a spiritual level. It's on a simple level as well, because they see what we're doing and it affects them. And we are, wherever we are in the world, we affect all of the nations around us. But it's also true on a spiritual level, that whatever we do, if I perform a mitzvah by myself, nobody knows about it. It also has a ripple effect on a spiritual level, because all of our souls are connected. And so all of the Jewish people are connected as one soul, and we are the all-inclusive aspect, the higher aspect, or the Ratzon, the higher aspect, the tefillin point of all of the nations of the world. And so what we do affects all of the nations of the world. And in a parallel way, Eretz Yisrael is the koilel, the land of Israel, is the all-inclusive aspect of the entire world. Whatever you see happening in Israel has a ripple effect on the entire world. And that's true in a simple sense. you can read the news and you can see that whatever happens in Israel starts to happen outside of Israel, both for good and in a negative way, heaven forbid. And again, it's true in a spiritual sense. Whatever happens in Israel spiritually, wherever we're holding spiritually, that has a ripple effect as well on the entire world, throughout the entire world. To the degree that we are manifesting Hashem, bringing Hashem into our lives, into the world, into the land of Israel, it goes out into the entire world. And so now we begin to have an understanding. Why is it that the Jew needs to be in Eretz Yisrael? Because this is the place where we are meant to be. The Jewish people are the aspect of the Kollel, and our actions affect everyone else. And where is that spiritual power focused? It's focused here in the land of Israel. This is the place, which is the Kollel, which corresponds to the Ratzon, the desire that has that ripple effect on everything else in the world, that has that effect on the thoughts of the world, the thoughts of mankind, the actions of mankind. That's Eretz Yisrael, that's the land of Israel. It's Eretz Hashem Elokecha Derish Esa. It's the land where Hashem is looking at. Why does he look at it so specifically? And what did the Medrash mean when it said that when Hashem looks at it and gives rain to Eretz Yisrael, he also thereby along the way gives rain to all the other nations. Hashem judges the Jewish people. By the way, Hashem also judges all of the other nations. Rosh Hashanah, you notice it's the head of the year. It's that top aspect. It's the place of Ratzon. It's the place where the entire world is judged. Who's judged first? The Jewish people are judged first, because we are the pinnacle of humanity. We are the spiritual aspect, the kollel, the all-inclusive aspect of humanity. So when we are judged, the ripple effect is that all of the world is judged. When Hashem brings rain, so it affects Eretz Yisrael and it affects the entire world. Eretz Yisrael is that special place. And notice, what is the difference between rain versus irrigation? So the Nile River was flowing. Get whatever you need. It has to do with my power. The rain means I'm connected to Hashem. I have to pray. I have to ask God, please send the rain. There's nothing that I can do about it. It's only Hashem, and it comes up from the heavens down onto my head, right? That's motar. Hashem is saying, comes down from the heaven onto the earth, comes from the higher place, from the all-inclusive Shomayim, the Kollel, comes down, and it affects the entire Eretz Yisrael. It's not in specific places. There's a piece in the Medrash, which I didn't read to you, which speaks about the difference between Eretz Yisrael and Mitzrayim, that Egypt was only in specific places, and it was only in the lower places that you could have the water. But Eretz Yisrael, the Maila, the beauty of Eretz Yisrael is that the rain comes down from above, and it affects the entire Eretz Yisrael, no matter where you are. The entire Eretz Yisrael gets that rain. It affects the entire place. And in the same way, whatever reigns in Israel, the judgment that happens, the goodness that Hashem has, the Ratzon, the desire that Hashem has in the Jewish people, the mitzvahs that are commanded, has a ripple effect. Like the Ratzon, like the thought, the desire of a person, that desire which affects his thoughts and affects his actions, so too all that happens in the land of Israel affects the entire world. This is an amazing, deep idea. It has many different ramifications. But I want to bless you, and I ask you to bless me as well. Hashem should help us that our thoughts, our desires, our Ratzon, whether we're in Israel, whether we're outside of Israel, our Ratzon should be for Eretz Yisrael. Our desire, our thoughts, our hopes, our aspirations should be to live in Israel, whether we can at this time or not. But that's the main place to be. That's the source of Ratzon. It's the place where we have that mania, that which motivates us to move, to come close to Hashem, to take actions, to think spiritual thoughts, to take spiritual actions. Hashem should help us to be able to have those thoughts, to have those desires, those she'ifos, those aspirations for spirituality, for the land of Israel, for that place where Hashem looks at and it has a ripple effect. Hashem should help us that we should indeed do good deeds and think good thoughts and take good actions that have a ripple effect on ourselves, on all those around us, and on the entire world. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful Shabbos. This podcast was made possible through the gracious donations of listeners like you. For more podcasts like this, please visit www.arigoldwag.com or search on iTunes Ari Goldwag.